I'm one of the organizers, along with Andrew Annett and Michelle Beans, who can't be here tonight. I would like to thank everyone for coming out. I try to monitor the group membership a little, and I noticed we got some new members with this topic, so I wonder if the Scaled Agile is of particular interest, and if it is, let me know, because I usually try to find speakers by tapping my network or topics I hear about, but if you have topics you're interested in, which are relevant, then we would love to hear from you. And also, if you're thinking you would love to share some knowledge that you have, talk to us about that as well, because we're always looking for speakers. We still have probably about 3 spots left up for the 2019 season, so if that sounds like something you want to do, reach out. Tonight, I would like to welcome John Monroe, who I met at the Toronto Agile Conference, and who has been kind enough to come and share his knowledge about the Disciplined Agile framework, which I did not know, but he informed me has recently been purchased by PMI. So I know for all the PMI members in the room, this is going to be of a lot of relevance. And just a couple notes, TWH Social has been kind enough to offer us this space without a charge. We don't have a budget from Communitech, so if you are willing to purchase a drink or some food to help support them hosting us in this space, that's wonderful. And also, George is here and he would like to record the presentation. If you are uncomfortable being on camera, he will turn it when you ask questions, so if you could just maybe let him know that you're uncomfortable with that. Otherwise, the session will be recorded and it will be shared to our group for anyone who can't be here. So back to John. I'm really excited. He spends a lot of time with companies and doing his own training. He's learning, and I would like to welcome you with a Communitech branded notebook and a Balzac mug on behalf of Communitech. And thank you so much for coming in from Stratford to support us tonight.
Well, thanks for we got the music off too. Perfect, great. Thanks for inviting me in, Lisa. Very happy to be here and have a chance to pontificate on what's happening in this space. A little bit about me. I have a company that effectively does Agile training. That's what we do. Agile training. We do some Agile coaching, but primarily it's training and primarily team-based training. So I've been in this space since 2001, not so much in the Agile training space. We were a software contract development company. And in that time, we were always trying to find a way to do projects better, right? Because we had the same problem everybody else, at least at that time, had, and we see all the time now, which is projects take too long, clients don't get what they want, and they're expensive, right? So they are trying to find a way to bridge that gap. So we've been looking for better ways for a long time, and if you know I guess the first question is, how many people are doing some type of Agile software delivery? Yeah, so pretty much everybody, not over half, probably 7%. And how many people would you say are doing more lean type of delivery, Kanban based delivery? No? Okay. Well, there's been a recent development here, but I want to give a little bit of history, so bear with me. If we look back at what's happened really since about 2000 as far as methodologies are concerned, so 2000 until today, we've had what? We've had the rational people doing rational rows, obviously with the modeling tools, and also with the rough unified process. Then, which was a very large, pretty bulky way of doing iterative development. And then the iterative folks come along later. We had XP come along, which provides some great ideas. And then Agile came along, right, when 2000, with the software, the summit in Colorado. And then Scrum came along, and that added some pieces to it. And really at that point, things started to really move, right? Because iterative development had been around, and it wasn't really until Scrum came along that things started to pick up steam. And then a whole bunch of other things happened, right? Now the problem was, how do we scale all this software delivery? What do we do? So along came large-scale Scrum, which is a framework, a long K. How many people are doing SAFe or have heard of SAFe? Okay. Oh, great. Okay. Then along came SAFe to deal with these scaling issues, and Nexus came along. All these things, right? So you're familiar with all this stuff happening, right? The problem was, and the problem really sort of comes down to this. With all of these ideas, and they are great ideas, I think we can all agree that there's been great ideas in all those different methodologies and approaches. The reality is that it's unlikely that an organization, from an organizational perspective, could implement any one of them in the most purest form. So would you agree with that? Right? And there's some reasons for that, right? The number one reason is that I think, and I'd be interested in your feedback on this, but there's just things that happen in the organization, from one organization, like we take SAFe, for example, and I like SAFe, I have no problem with SAFe, not trying to bash SAFe or anything like that. SAFe was developed for John Deere, right? John Deere had a particular context of how they delivered software, and it was designed around that. And obviously things have happened and really developed over the years because of the involvement of the SAFe folks. But you got to keep in mind, right? Even something like SAFe really had its roots way back. Like Dean Leffingwell used to be a rational unified process guy. So all these things are starting to collide down on ideas. But John Deere, how they develop software, may not be the best way for another company to develop software. Where I spend my professional time is in front of usually large enterprise customers, talking to them about how to fix these software delivery issues. And I was with a bank in Chicago, and I travel a fair bit. So I was in a regional bank in Chicago, and the guy said to me, vice president of the PMI, said, "Hey, John, I got a great idea. I'm going to hire this guy from Bank of America. He's going to come in. He's going to help me do my SAFe implementation. It's going to be all grade 1+." I said, "That's great. So that means you'll be just as good as that guy's memory of how Bank of America did." And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "So is that what you really want? I mean, do you want to be just as good as one guy's, how he can remember how your competitor did it? Wouldn't you be better off to find a different way of doing things that can be more customized to how you were trying to do it, and then be able to, outpace Bank of America in Chicago? Wouldn't that be a better scenario?" He said, "Yeah, it would, John, but the problem is, how do I do that with all the decisions and all that knowledge we have to be able to make all those decisions about how to make that state of improvement?" And I didn't have an answer for him. Great question. Didn't have an answer for him. But that's really what has happened here with Disciplined Agile. So Disciplined Agile is a collection of ideas from multiple approaches to doing Agile, and putting them all inside of one tool. We call it a toolkit or a knowledge base, so that you can go to the knowledge base as you're implementing your projects and find really design your own methodology for your project around a common set of ideas. Is really what it is. It's as simple as that. So they say it's a way to design your way of working, which I think we can all appreciate. It would be different if we were building something on a production line. But the bottom line is that's just not our world, right? We're in a creative mind space, and the way we do our work is dependent on the people that we're working with as well as the technologies. So what Disciplined Agile does then, it allows you to take your basic problem of your software product, so not project, product, that you're going to be working on, and then be able to prioritize the areas of the highest level of problems, and then be able to go into the knowledge base and get ideas on how you should tackle those problems. So a lot of people say, well, and you know what, and I've heard this a lot. A lot of people try to compare Disciplined Agile, because there's a scaling set of ideas, to something like SAFe, but it's actually not. It's something where you could use it actually as a knowledge base to SAFe and help to implement. improve it. So that's really what it is. So now we've got this, and Scott Ambler designed it. Scott Ambler is he's been in the software space since 1999. He's written 17 books. He used to work for IBM, traveling. Are any of you guys IBM customers? Like using Eclipse or something like that? No? Okay. IBM, for what it's worth, IBM has a big lab in Markham. They build a series of WebSphere products there, some of those larger enterprise pieces. And Scott's job was to help them find, and at this time, IBM had bought Rational. This was like 2006. And Scott's job was to help optimize how IBM delivered software. And that's where these ideas, and IBM is very diverse, right? They're all over the world, they're different languages, they're different products. So he was responsible for helping to design different methodologies by department. That's what he was doing. So pretty big job, right? So that's where the knowledge base came from, and that's where it all got going. So that's fun. So now it's 2008. Scott goes out on it. He leaves IBM, goes out on his own, and with about another 25 companies. So Barclays Bank's involved with this, and other companies are involved with this, to try to extend out this knowledge base. And that's what they've been doing since 2006. So now they've got this knowledge base that not only deals with construction, but also deals with continuous deployment, security, governance, HR, all those other things that we talked about, are touched by the software lifecycle. And he's got really a nice tool here that you could actually, like, you gotta call it the coach in a box almost, right? Sorry to the coaches in the room, but it's like a coach in a box, right? You can say, here's my problem, and go to the knowledge base, here's some ideas on how to fix my problem, some more detail on that, and you can use as a place to go. So now he's got all this built. He's been selling this to one or two people a few people for the last, since 2008. And there's about 8,000 members that are in it. Okay, so that's what's happened kind of in the agile space and got us to VA. At the same time, PMI, and I'm not a PMI expert and don't pretend to be, but if I look at the industry right now, I see a lot of different areas, a lot of different piecemeal solutions, right? We've got Scrum, we've got Nexus, we've got PSP1, we've got Scrum.org, the list goes on and on and on. And really, PMI has like 1.5 million members, right? So they're a large, they're a large influence in this market. And about 70% of them are doing some sort of technology integration. So it's a big part of their business. They have some certifications. They have the Agile Certified Practitioner or the ACP, and they have a few things like that. And they partner with a few other training companies, training partners like the Scrum Alliance. I'm sure you're all probably a CSM certified or something. Yeah. Okay. So they partner with those to allow people to use and all the rest of it. So we've got some little bit of things, a little bit of partnership. However, the problem is, if you're PMI, you're looking at this, and even with, I think we can all agree that Agile has made software delivery better, but I think we could all, certainly, my experience is, it's better by a factor of, it depends who you are, it depends the organization, but it's 15% better, maybe 20% better. 1 in 10 organizations, it might be 60% better, but it's kind of in that space, right? Like it's better, but it's not like this breakaway thing that we thought was going to happen, right? Would you agree with that? Well, yeah. I'll catch you with your mouth full of food. So that's kind of what we see, right? So PMI now is sitting back going, wow, okay, this digital transformation, which is really about Agile, is taking off like mad. We're sort of involved, but we're not really involved, and we have an influential set of ideas to bring to the table. So you've heard of the PMBOK, right? Yeah. So if you think about the PMBOK, the knowledge base that Scott produced is kind of like the PMBOK, right? So PMI decides then they're going to buy Disciplined Agile, bring it into their fold, and now they're going to make that part of their certification process, and they're going to extend it out. So the reason why So first, let me just stop there. So what do you think of, first of all, has what I said made sense so far? Is this, why don't you guys talk so we can grab a sip of beer? So what do you think of all that? First, go ahead.
Maybe an example would be helpful. I'm not totally sure, like, so you're saying this is a knowledge base. I'm not quite sure what I would consult this knowledge base for.
Yeah. Let's say, and I was gonna run a simulation, so you can really see it in action. And I could come back and do that actually, at least if you wanted me to. Or if you want to set up something else, like come here for lunch or something like that, like you don't want to take up all your PMI, all your community time. But let's, yeah, so how can I, and you know what? It took me about a year to figure this out. It really did.
So 5 minutes, can you do it?
Yeah, it's not gonna nail it down in 5 minutes.
Pressure, go.
Yeah. So, I probably should have brought it. I was just in Atlanta last week. They were doing an enablement training for it and kind of going through this with us. So that's why I don't have any slides because I didn't give us the slides, right? But the first thing they have is actually so if you, do you know SAFE? Okay, great. Okay, so SAFE is role-based, right? I got a release train engineer, I've got a, I've got all, right? I've got all those roles, right? And all the frameworks deal with it that way. The Scrum has product owner, Scrum master team, right? They're all the same, they all have role-based approaches, right? Okay. So, the difference is DA has roles, it's certainly important, right? They've added some roles that, but they come at it from a goal-based. So, there's 23 goals. So, forming a team would be a goal. So you would say, okay, as an organization going to build a product, we need to form a team, right? So and that's one of the 23. So you would go through a series of 15 steps within forming a team, where they're going to sit, how they're going to be cross-functional, all these sorts of things, right? And I should have brought a deck of cards. I should have brought an example of this that's better. But at any rate, you would then go to it and say, okay, well, let's say our context is that we have an outsourced, let's just give you an example. We have our team is going to be outsourced completely. So in other words, the team is not our responsibility at all. So if we look at the Agile stack, that would be the lowest in the Agile environment, right? So on that same stack of forming a team, the next one up would be a co-located outsourced team. The next one would be a internal dedicated resource, mixed resource team, right? So someone who does 25 mixed by meaning 25% in this project, 25% in this project, and 70% in this project, and it doesn't add up to 100. There's a reason for that, right? And the next one would be a dedicated product team. And the next would be, a cross-functional, fully formed team. So it gives you those. So then you look at it and go, okay, we're going to form a team, and we're going to build, and we're going to use resources, we're going to use people, not resources, people from various different teams, and put them on our team. That's how that makes sense. But our next step, when we're doing our retrospectives, should be looking at, can we move from a shared program to a dedicated program. And so that's a simple example of something we all understand, we all struggle with. It gives you that next step up on the curve. And then beyond that, it would be, okay, we really want a team with fully cross-functional with T-based skills that we can share workload across our team members. And it continues to do that, right? And so you can plot, when you start the project, this is what I like, when you start the project, you can assign yourself the way you're going to work. And it gives you a clear idea of what your Agile growth path is in each one of these 23 goals. So then you can say, let's say you're doing retrospective, and you say, okay, we have a problem because and this happens, the stakeholder did not accept our output, didn't accept the demo, right? So how do we deal with that? As a retrospective, you can say, well, obviously we have a problem with stakeholder engagement. So you're back to the knowledge base that says stakeholder engagement. Well, you know, are we doing dedicated demos? Are we doing 30, 60, 90 demos? Are we doing, you know, automated regression tests with the PO? Is the PO doing the demo? So, you know, so it gives you ideas on how to be continually improving as you go.
Got it.
Right? Did that work?
Yeah,
5 minutes?
that was helpful.
That's a year worth of effort from me. So that's what it's for, right? So when you're trying to find ways to, because Agile is all about continuous improvement. So you're trying to find ways to be always, what are the ideas for us to be able to be continually improving? So that's really what it's all about. And you know, and honestly, it took me a while, because I'm out there selling training, I'm selling other things, and all I hear is safe. Like, and I'll mention dad, and they go, well, they used to call it Disciplined Agile delivery, which is it'd be like the release train side of safe. And they would say, well, we don't need another framework because it competes against safe. And I'd say, well, I think, yeah, that makes sense, until I figured out that actually it doesn't compete against safe. It can actually be used to augment safe. Because the ideas from safe are inside Disciplined Agile. So it's a hybrid knowledge base of Scrum, Lean, Safe, etc. It's all in one spot. So that's what's happened. That's how they got to here. But then the PMI did something else, which I thought was brilliant. And Safe hasn't gotten all the way here yet, although I suspect they will. They bought a second company called Net Objectives. Have you heard of that? Like getting into Al Shalloway. So Agile is all about, you know, building the product, right? It's all about that construction, intake, construction, and deployment. However, it doesn't. Agile is pretty silent on some of the things Safe picks up, like program management, portfolio management, and all those sorts of things. Al Shalloway's company is a lean company. So lean is all about system thinking, right? The overall system, right? And optimizing that system and removing constraints from the system so the entire system flows better. So right from intake with customer feedback to delivery, the whole thing, that's how its system operates. So what but people, a lot of my customers don't think in those terms, right? They think of construction, they don't think about my software is a system. My software delivery process is a system, right? And so Al Shalloway's company has taken that system-based thinking, the full system, and brought it into DA. And so that knowledge base now includes both Agile and Lean and dealing with these constraints. Has anybody read the book, The Goal? Okay. Okay, so you know what, so I say the theory of constraints, you know what it's all. So imagine if you had, so Al Shalloway's company is a way of taking those constraints we see inside the software delivery process and packing them inside DA so a place to go from. Is really what it is. So that's what it's all about. So PMI now then has come to the market with a full package of ideas and knowledge for how to make systems-based Agile delivery go, right? And the way I look at it is, it really provides a roadmap to organizational Agile delivery that will take you to mastery. There's really, to this point, this energy has all been about, you know, and I would even go as far as say our training's the same way. You know, we teach you how to do it, we teach you a little bit, you do a little bit, you come back for the course, we teach a little bit more, you do a little bit more, you know, it's that cycle, right? This approach is very different. This approach is I teach you the tool, and then I teach you some basic principles, and then you take that journey on your own. Because you can always refer back to the knowledge base to be able to take your own journey. So it really helps for those organizations who want to customize Agile based on their context and want to do it at their own rate of speed. That's what DA has done with PMI. PMI have done together. So it's very different. And that's why I think it's changing the industry. Because to this point, it's all been about everyone's safe and safe with Scrum, etc. It's always been about do these things, do this, do that, get an RTE, do this, right? Do. This is about, here's the goals, here's some ideas, you're smart people, we all agree with smart people, hopefully we can, and here's the roadmap to figure it out. That's what it's about. So questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does it include the waterfall model
It does.
somehow?
It does. It does. And it pretty much has to, right? Because many organizations are coming from a waterfall environment. Yeah. So it does.
Well, and for those of us that still deal with hardware and lead times
Yeah.
manufacturing, that's a necessary evil too.
For sure it is. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So it has also, for example, for critical system like healthcare or military or something, it has, are you aware if it has like special attention there or?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure I understand the question. But yeah.
Because NASA, for example, yeah, they have to go waterfall, but also they have to be agile, yeah?
Right.
Kind of, so they should use, I guess, kind of hybrid system.
Well, and, you know, I mean, any organization that's probably over, you know, 100 people in the IT shop, in development, you know, in product development, they're probably doing a hybrid anyway. But they're open to, but that, you know, I've not seen one that is doing a pure agile implementation. If you're doing a full agile implementation, right, that means you're doing rolling wave budgeting, you're doing continuous push button deploys, you're doing all these sorts of things. I said it's me. And lots of people want to get there, but I mean, maybe someone here is already doing it.
You're probably a website.
What's that?
So you're probably a website if that's true.
You're probably a website, you're probably run by 10 or less people, and you're, yeah. But even budgeting, right? Like you know, 96% of Scrum teams aren't whole because they're touching some other team, right? So we all are. As we said, this is just what we recognize. But yeah, you could start at waterfall and go right up to a full agile, which would be mastery.
How about scaling agile?
Absolutely. That's what includes the safe stuff. So things like the big room planning, things like, you know, all of those things are included with it. Yeah.
Because we had last month, sorry, we have a agile and Kanban mixture presentation here.
For sure, yeah. Well, and yeah, so they're very specific about how to do this, and everyone's got to find their own way, right? I guess that's one message I have is, you know, as much as I like to say do it this way, bottom line is you kind of got to find your own way. This is a guide to help you find your own way. But continuous, so we're starting on an agile, we talk about agile and Kanban. Most people start out as agile, get through the practice, and then slowly move into continuous delivery and probably into a Kanban system, depending on the system they're using, depending on budgeting, depending on a bunch of different things, right? So I don't think they're mutually exclusive. That's what I'm saying. I think that it depends on what you're doing, if you're going to be agile or lean Kanban or how you're going to get there. Because everyone has to do it differently. Right? That's why I came back to Bank of America. Something like this would allow, I'll use Bank of America as they weren't my customer, they're going to hire a guy from Bank of America. Using something like this, they could take the knowledge he had, the knowledge the other people on his team had, and he had like 8 coaches, and use that to design and optimize his current delivery system, and then have a path for continuous improvement to get there. Because they're absolutely starting out, it's a bank. They're definitely starting out in waterfall, at least in some areas, for sure in budgeting, and for sure in governance. So this gives them a roadmap to say, okay, we can get started, and then we know how to improve these things as we go. Our best customer was 3M. So I don't know if you knew this or not, but in London, Ontario, they have a website there where they do all the ordering for everywhere in the world except for the US. They have 40,000 distributors. They have over 100,000 products. It's a $6 billion website. It's absolutely, you know, and it was built with custom-based, their own 3M builds their own stuff, right? So they built their own framework, they didn't use Spring, they built their own, so it's very much a custom thing. The problem they had was that from the time an idea hit an executive's head until it went into production was about 4 months. And then the 4-month release cycle. And then there was a 2-week fixed release, typically, right? The problem is they're in 163 different countries, which means you're in at least 100 and probably more than 100 and probably over 1,000 tax jurisdictions. So what they need to do is find a way to use a different approach so they could speed up their changes so they wouldn't be penalized for tax violations. And they slowly started to move over to Agile. When it was all said and done, it was continuous integration with CD and fully automated regression testing on an Agile framework. And that's how they got there. But that would, you couldn't go to that environment and say, you know what, use Nexus. Because that would mean nothing to them. That's not the problem. The problem is in their environment, we get continuous delivery as fast as possible and fix a bunch of defects. Right? Same thing with Scrum. Wouldn't work. Right?
Would you say that gave them that sort of 15 to 20% increase that you were referring to earlier, or did they shoot well past that?
Well, they shot well past it, but it's interesting. It wasn't because of Agile, actually. It was because of continuous integration and continuous deployment. Because the thing was, and actually, that's where we started, was CI/CD.
So more DevOps.
Yeah. And because without having a environment where you can do CI/CD, particularly CI, you can't actually do Agile very well. Because you're doing things in 2 weeks, as you know, you're doing things in 2 week sprints. You've got to be able to regression test your tests. They really have to be automated. So a lot of work was spent there. And that gave a 40%. This whole thing, they say if you find defects early, you save money. Well, guess what? It's actually true. So it was 40%. They were finding defects, and they had offshored some development to China. This is 2006, I guess. So, so work was being done overseas, being checked in overnight, spinning up some servers and doing regression tests. And the next day, the team in London were doing the checking and doing the fixes for it. And then more work was done, and off it went, and came back and forth, and all that kind of stuff. So all that is to say, CI/CD brought a bigger improvement than Agile did. But once that was in place, then we were able to do other things, right? But it only started right in development, actually. Well, didn't even go to. I started the development teams, and then product owners came in through the BAs, and then testing was done offshore, actually. So we put a front end to that. So we have to wait for the testing to happen overnight, and then things started to happen. Right?
So when you talk about PMI, right, acquiring this, I mean, I haven't seen anything on PMI site that I found, and sure, maybe I missed it. But what is there some kind of like amalgamation of these things? Like, how are they integrating? Right? Is that happening now?
Yeah, it's happening. Yeah, for sure. If you just Google PMI Disciplined Agile, you'll see the announcement. There's several. You can find them in several sites and stuff. So yeah, so they're fully been purchased now. This one happened in August too, right? So the 1st of August. So they've been purchased by PMI and they're being integrated now. That's just happening now. Their first set of courses are going to market. We're running one in Toronto on the 17th and 18th to say Disciplined Agile Lean Scrum Master, which I think makes sense because we're kind of battling this Kanban versus Agile thing. So they combine them together. But at any rate, so that's happening. That's their first course coming out in. It's officially being launched in January. But we're doing one in December, and then 1 month after that in Toronto. And then the shallow way part, the flow, the lean part, is being integrated now with the lean part. So when we get to the new year, then we'll have those products. The next question I would expect would be is, what do we do about the integration of that with everything else that PMI is doing, right? Because they've got the PIMBOT, they've got
Yeah.
ACP. Was that what you're thinking?
Well, yeah, because, I mean, part of the challenge that I've been battling over the last couple of years, right, is, project management bad, right? And what we're trying to figure out, right, is how to integrate the Scrum teams and the dedicated teams while still obtaining our strategic goals
Right.
on a somewhat predictable path.
Hopefully on a
Right.
very predictable path.
Well, yeah, and so all of the traditional things we did as PMs, right, were almost taboo,
Right.
right? And so, we're trying to figure out, okay, well, how do we apply those things, right, to teams that want to be autonomous and go their own way, and that's,
Right.
you can't do that, right?
Right.
You have to have objectives and
For sure.
and all that stuff, but the balance is, we were almost felt like we were making it up, right, as to how to do this.
Yeah. Well, the Agile community's been pretty, I mean, let's just say it the way it is, right? I mean, the Agile community says you don't need project managers, right? They're pretty adamant about that, right? Self-organizing teams, we don't know what that's the mindset, right? That's the Agile mindset. The Lean mindset's actually not like that at all, right? So remember the self-organization on the team level for sure. So what PMI is saying as far as that is where's the project manager fit is there'll be a new certification coming out. It'll be out in, I think it's January. It's called the Lean Project Manager. So the idea, remember I talked about Lean being a full system approach? So it's really about the project manager helping to manage that system. And that's an important part. And that's a part that's absolutely been missed, both with SAFe and with Nexus, and certainly with Scrum. So and that's why they bought, I believe, Chavouet's company, that objectives. Thinking from a systems perspective is so important. Like, about a third of my company customers, maybe 25%. They're small companies, right? They're, well, not really small. They're bigger than me, but they're small. They may be 150 people or less, right? But kind of that's, and they'll come to, they'll come to me because they're either going for extra funding, right? They're doing like another series of funding, or someone's come to buy them, or someone come to acquire them, or whatever. And they'll come to me and say, John, we're doing due diligence, and the problem is we don't really have a documented software delivery process, and they're asking for that. And it's like, okay, well, how do you do it today? And they'll tell me, it's like, so you really kind of, not making it up, but you're kind of by the seat of your pants, sort of, right? And they'll go, yeah, we kind of are. So they're not taking that system-based thinking at all, right? But they're making money because they're doing okay, right? But for enterprise customers who have governance issues, who have people already in place that know the business, like project managers and others, bringing that lean thinking and moving those, helping to move those people into these more system-based roles, I think is what you're going to see more and more of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I can't envision what the amalgamation of these two things looks like, right?
Okay.
And so, because PMIs, they're very, this is the 9 by whatever
Sure.
it is these days.
Or 9-box triangle, yeah.
Yeah, and so I suspect, there would be some kind of I guess I'm asking, what are the changes as PMI takes
Yeah,
over?
here's what I can tell you in terms of, so first of all, PMI doesn't have anything really in the Agile space. They really don't. They got the ACP and they got some certifications. And they have some partnerships with Scrum Alliance, but that's all they have, right? They don't have, to this point, they really haven't had their own content. So there's really nothing for them to integrate with. They don't have to take this stuff and integrating with their own training material and their own ideas. They don't have to, because they don't have any. They bought the ideas from these guys. So all they have to do now is integrate this, so the development, the product development, things around Agile and Lean, with a Lean approach from the company. So you don't have to worry about PMI so much. You'd be thinking more about how do these two small companies integrate together. That's how I look at it. I was just in Atlanta last week, and we were talking about this. And so it's kind of for me, it was kind of interesting, right? Because I don't know, up until this point, I didn't really know the PMI. And my sense was it was going to be like, okay, this is the PMI, so I'm going to see like a Gantt chart. There's going to be flow diagram. It's going to be pretty detailed out. And someone asked a question similar to yours, which was, what is the rollout? How's this going to work? All the rest of it. And the answer was, here's our release dates. We've got, until December, end of December, we're going to launch this course. Then we're going to do the Lean Scrum Master, the Lean Manager, Project Manager after that. And then we're going to do it in this case. And someone said, well, don't you need a whole plan? And they said, well, we don't have time for a whole plan. We're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it in an agile environment where we're going to learn as we go. And we're going to make that happen. And that's what they said. So, yeah. Sure.
So my company has been the same number of people for 2 years.
Okay.
And it's really small. So we kind of have this nice place where it's kind of easy, right? Like, it's the same 9 developers who all know each other really well, and we sit in the same room, and it could be worse. But we're about to grow a lot because we are just in the process of getting Series A. So I'm wondering, can I take a framework like this? Because I don't know. I know it's going to break. I know it's all going to fall apart when we start growing.
For sure.
But how do I get ahead of that? Like, could I take a framework like this and sort of use it to identify problems early, or get people thinking about, like proactively? Could I apply this proactively, I guess is what I'm trying to ask, before things are broken?
I think you can, right? I mean, I think you could do that. Because it will give you, you can actually plot on the tool where you are today. And then if the next issue is scaling, you look at the scaling part of the knowledge base and say, so the first could be 1 team, 2 teams, 5 teams, etc. And then how do we deal with those things? You could use it in that way to say, okay, so as we grow from 1 team to 5 teams, here's what we're likely to see, but that's okay. Here's what we're likely to see, but here's how we can deal with these issues. Here are some ideas on how we can deal with those issues. And then the knowledge base goes into the detail of what those ideas are and explains them out as well. So you can start to do a little bit of research and say, okay, well, okay, so we're going to go to, we got 1 product owner and a team of 9. Okay, so we're going to have a new area of the business open up, and so we're going to probably get a 2nd product owner, but that part of the product will be dependent on this team. So how do we do that? It's going to cause some problems on all kinds of issues, integration, whatever, just flow of, all that. How do we deal with that? And then that's all there in the book. So if you're good at anticipating your growth, and you can put them into, and you can look at the frame, you can learn the framework. So then you can get ahead of it for sure. But you'll be wrong, not because not because it's you, because
we always.
But you have to be. You don't have to be perfect, right? You have to know. You have to be good enough, and you have to know where the answers are to get those. The alternative, and this is a good example. So an alternative like that would be, okay, we're going to bring in a resource. We're going to bring in someone who's done it before. We're going to bring in a coach. We're going to bring whatever. But this would be is to sidestep that and say, okay, we're going to look at the knowledge base, figure what makes sense for us, and if there's something there that we don't quite understand, then we'll bring in a guy or a coach or something for that one particular. It becomes more surgical and designed around how you're going to do it. So the answer is, and that's what the answer is. I guess that's thoughts, concerns, questions. like the logo. Go ahead.
You were saying earlier about how Disciplined Agile kind of includes, I think was the word you used, includes SAFe, includes these other approaches.
Yeah.
So when you say include, are you talking about this sort of knowledge base? Because, I'm understanding that it's more around, as opposed to roles, more goals. So you're trying to achieve those goals, and you talked a bit about how it provides kind of guidance and ideas around how to kind of work towards those goals. So are you saying that kind of big group planning and some of these other ideas are included, but more as kind of guidance or ideas towards achieving the goal, kind of those goals?
Yeah, so they're included in the knowledge base as a evolution to either mastery or to scalability. So we didn't talk about the complexity diagrams, a bunch of things we didn't talk about. Well, we only had 30 minutes, so this is like I'm happy to come back, by the way, and I can show you the diagrams and show this all works if you like. I'm happy to do that. But it would say in scaling, so in a team from product development that's 25 people, which is now 50, which is now 100, which is now 150, now my complexity just went way up, right? And so how do I deal with communication? So here's some ideas, and one of them would be some pull from SAFe, which would be good. Scott Ambler used to work with Dean, right? Yeah. So Dean, Richard Naster, all those guys they all work together. And Dean's great about this whole thing. He's like, yeah, I get it, Scott, because SAFe's not there to fix every problem. It's kind of a specific. I'm just picking on SAFE because just people would pay for that one, right? Maybe I should have said Scrum because they were paying for that too. But it has that's how it's structured.
So are these how many goals did you say?
There's 23 goals.
23. And are they like, do you have to be a PMI member or a Disciplined Agile member to find?
No, you don't. No, you can go to Disciplined Consortium.com, and it's the whole knowledge base and the goals are there. Knowing how to operate the framework is where the training comes in. So here's the plug, right? We are offering a course in Toronto, the 17th and 18th of December. For PMI, I thought this was a PMI member meeting, but I get whatever. But so it's $1,500, but for PMI members it's $300 off. So you can do that. You can do a full week just as we're plugging away here. We are going to offer I call it the 24 pack. We had some large PMI user groups in the States ask us, they say, we like the idea, we don't want to pay the $1,500. We kind of like the idea of training. So I said, okay, well, and they said, let's keep around $500, which is pretty cheap, but okay. I said, okay, how do we do something like this? I said, we'll do $11,000 for the training, which would include 24 people, including the certification. So it's like $500, a little bit less than that, right? But we'll supply the instructor and travel, all the stuff you need to get, but we won't supply the facility. So if you could figure out, I figure, groups like yours, like, you're a community, right? So you probably, go to a large, if you're one of the members of a large firm, use their training room or something, maybe Manual, I don't know if Manulife has this, but a company similar to Manulife would have a training room. So why have us?
Communitech does. Communitech makes spaces available to peer-to-peer groups for free.
Yeah, for free. Well, there you go. So you could do something like that. So it'd be like $500. Well, if you have your own space, $500. We're only going to do this in the first quarter, right? And then we're going to reevaluate, but for sure for the first quarter. But to give you an opportunity to get 24 people together. The instructor who will be doing that training there are 2 instructors who are eligible to do the trainer. So if you ever wanted to be a trainer, you have to be taught by one of these 2 guys. They both happen to work for me. So, because I'm the only partner. So, and they've been working with it for a long time. So if you ever want to become a trainer on it, then you could do that. So for $500, you could take, assuming you can yourself and 23 other people, you can put together a course, get all the material you need, and if you decide, hey, this would be pretty cool, and I want to be a trainer at whatever company, you can do that, right? So.
I will say if that appeals to anyone, I'm Lisa House. You can find me on Meetup or you can find me on LinkedIn. Ping me if you are interested in that, or if you have some other people, and I can reach out to the PM Connect. I don't know if anyone here is in the PM Connect group, and see if they had an audience too. Yeah. Okay.
So I'll send you some details on that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Like I said, it's only in the first quarter, right? Then we'll reevaluate, but, yeah.
So you're not really part of the PMI, but, so how does the ACP just evolve into the?
Yeah. I'm not with the PMI, but I'm sure talking a lot about PMI right now, not just here. So the ACP will continue to exist. It will evolve over time, but it's not going away.
Because they put it into the PMBOK and everything,
Yeah, I
like
know.
the ACP is all
Yeah.
part of the
It is,
PMBOK,
yeah.
right?
It absolutely is, but it's
So
going to,
will Disciplined Agile become a part of the PMBOK, or should it be separate documentation?
well, they're figuring that out right now. It's probably going to have its own PMBOK equivalent. Yeah. So, but the ACP is not going away. It's still valid. It will evolve over time, and it will be as valuable as it is today. It'll be more valuable in the future for sure. Yeah. Great question, because I get that a lot. Yeah. I should work for PMI actually. Wait a minute, something's not right. Anyway.